Welcome to the hunting ground, where business gets real. This is Into the Lion's Den, where we build smarter, lead harder, and protect what matters most. With your host, Christian Griffith. Let's get to work.
All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Into the Lion's Den with your favorite co-hosts, Captain Graybeard, JD Stevens. It's coming in pretty nicely.
There's a lot of gray there. I'm not even going to try to deny that one. The amount of gray grows regularly.
It's good. That means you're seasoned. That means you're experienced, right?
It means I'm something.
And me, of course, Christian Griffith, brought to you proudly by Level Creative Studios and Pride Roofing and Construction. I'll do it. I'll do all the sounds. All right.
You're just not ever going to get me to do it.
That's all right.
Mostly because it's more fun at this point just to say no.
I'll have twice as much fun as you. That's okay.
That's fair.
All right, so we've decided to take a different route with this particular conversation today. Obviously, things will have kind of tapered off a little bit in terms of the heatedness of the world that we live in, but this is being shot currently about a week after one of the most tragic events in America's history as of recently, and all of the chaos that's going with that. So we thought we would bring a little bit of light and positivity back to things, make fun of ourselves a little bit, and talk about the shit we'd never tell our moms.
I mean... Gosh, that's a long list.
Yeah.
And my mom watches this podcast, so... Yeah. But, I mean, I've got some things.
You could filter. But anyways, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about it in the traditional sense to the theme of the podcast, some entrepreneurial stuff that we've learned, mistakes that we've made, stuff that could have put us under and didn't, and things that we can look back and laugh on now, and the learning lessons. But we'll probably a little bit talk about ourselves and some of the experiences we've had, make ourselves a little bit more I don't know, let's just call it relatable to the population that's actually watching the videos. So all right, so how do we want to start this one, JD?
I mean, I can think of a bunch of different ways of, like, we've kind of, you always catch us right after we've had this, like, interlude that you guys don't get to see. So it's always us joking and trying to get ourselves into the right mindset, because we walk in here most days and we're so focused on the things that we do day to day. The energy typically is pretty low when we walk in. So we take around 15 minutes to, like, talk and kind of get ourselves woke up and ready to do the conversation. So I think a funny, like, just to keep with the lightness of, like, something funny, like early high school, college, of, like, mom can never know. There's just of, like, and then we'll go back into the serious of, like, you know, in the same vein, but, like, in the business world of, like, I'm never gonna tell my partner. Like,
sure. Well, offhand, do you have anything in the hopper? You can start us off.
I can think of, I can think of a bunch. The one that comes to mind right now, my family knows about this one, but it was kind of hard to hide, but I tried to hide it, which was dumb. But me and my buddies were really into airsoft. It was popular when we were in high school. And they all ambushed me one day when I came over to the house. Mm-hmm. And so in a hail of these airsoft BBs, I ran and grabbed, like, a gun out of the garage, one of their airsoft guns, and, like, went back to my car and barricaded myself in my car. And it was like it was this garbage spring load one, and I'm firing at them, like, one at a time out the window. I have it rolled down like this much because they can't get to me. And my buddy goes on the roof with a BB gun because we didn't have enough airsoft guns. Mm-hmm. And he pumps it one time, and his brother was just like, "You're gonna break his window. Don't do that." And he's like, "No, it'll be fine." And you just see me in the car, and you watch the glass just go, one shot, just beep. And I was just like, I'm so dead. And so, like, I vacuum it all out, and I clean it all up, and I forget to roll the window up when I go home that night. And Dad knew immediately. He was just like, what happened to the window, JD? And I was just like, nothing. I forgot to roll it up. He goes, oh, really? Because I tried rolling it up. And it's just like, dang it.
There's no window there. So what was the story? What'd you tell him?
I mean, I fessed up to it at that point, but, like, I tried really hard not to, like, I didn't park in my spot, which if I had just parked in my spot, I probably wouldn't have been caught. But because I tried to hide it, Dad was like, that's not where JD parks. And so he went to look of like, what are you doing? What are you hiding? Because you're not parked where you normally park.
Isn't that the common saying? It's like hide in plain sight. It's like don't change your mannerisms, don't change your routine. It's like, all right, I'm not very good at covering up my tracks. My mom knew just about every dumb thing that I ever did growing up. But I mean, you watch any of these Criminal Minds shows or whatever, that's how they get caught. They change their routine, and something is different. Somebody notices, and then let's start thinking about it. So here you are.
Oh, yeah. Because I always parked in the driveway because I had a spot in the driveway, but Dad had to walk past the car in the driveway. So I was like, well, if I park it on the street.
So like, how long do you think that you could have not been seen for having no window?
It was October, not very long.
Yeah, right.
It was one of those ones of like, I would have been caught so quick, but I was hoping it was one of those things I could go to the junkyard, get a window, put the window in because I'm fairly handy. So I was just like, maybe I can go get a window and get it installed before anybody notices, and that was not the case.
That's funny. I was laughing at the double entendre there.
I'm sure you were.
I'm fairly handy. Oh, really, JD? Yeah. So, no, I'm having a hard time pulling from recollection good stories. Like I said, my mom was, she's a pretty keen observer. She knows when something's off, so I didn't really get away with too much. But I did confess to a lot of stuff to my mom after I was far enough grown up that she couldn't do anything about it.
Oh, I joke about stuff now.
Yeah, it's usually the talk around the dinner table at Christmas or Thanksgiving is just things that we never told Mom that now we can because she can't do anything about it. It makes for a pretty good conversation. You see her over there grinding her teeth and getting red, and then she'll laugh, and then she's like, "You guys are assholes." So I can think of a funny one. Now this one actually makes me seem like a murderer or some kind of crazy person, but I was a kid, and so I wasn't really thinking about consequences, I guess, at this point in time. So long story short, you remember Tony Hawk Pro Skater?
Yeah.
So I'll tell the first story and then the second story. First story, I got caught. Second, I didn't. I confessed, somewhere around the age of 27 or 28. But the first one, Tony Hawk came out, and my brother and I shared the PS2. Our sisters played a little bit. They weren't really as in tune with it. But my brother was bigger than me, and he was, the second boss because he was the oldest of the kids. And let's just say it wasn't really very equal trade, right, or equal time, or whatever. What the best way to say it was. It wasn't like I was actually playing the game. So I came up with a great plan in my mind, and I had seen Dennis the Menace because we had one of those little under-the-tongue thermometer things whenever we were testing temperatures and whatever. I saw Dennis the Menace used a light bulb to heat it up. So the next day, after the first night that we got it, I didn't get to play at all. I just sat there and watched my brother and cried and whatever else. The next day, I decided, okay, I'm going to pull this off. I heat up the thermometer, whatever. I pretend I'm sick. My mom, I knew she had to go to work, wasn't going to be able to stay. This is the 90s, so it's not like babysitters were really a conversation. It's like, you're sick, you're just staying home. I'll see you when I get back, And I played Tony Hawk all day long. All day long. My brother came back that night, and he finally let me on the sticks. And
you were very good.
I was amazing in comparison to him. He's like, what the hell is going on here? And, but anyways, yeah, that one I got away with. I don't think I ever said that I actually did that until just now. I know my mom does watch, so there you go. But the second thing was also in relation to the fighting and bickering that my brother and I had towards being able to play Tony Hawk. So I remember he basically kicked me off. I think it was a Saturday or something. Parents were gone working or something like that, and me and him and the girls were home. But anyways, he wouldn't let me play. And so in my, young, I don't know, 8-year-old mind, I don't know what year that came out, I thought, he's bigger than me, so I get to use a weapon. And so I pulled out a leather belt, and I went up behind him while he was playing.
Just smacked him.
I didn't. Actually, it was worse. Wrapped around his neck and tightened it. And I was like, you better let me play. You better let me play. And then he goes limp.
Oh.
Falls off this little stool that we had in front of the TV. The TV, I mean, this is 90s. We had this little tiny box TV that had a built-in VCR. He's sitting on a four-leg,
The Ottoman type deal.
whatever, and yeah, dude passes out right there, and I freak out. So I take the evidence with me, took the belt off, and I was like, he's dead. I didn't know what to do, so I literally just went and hid in a closet. And I was like, he's dead. I'm sitting there crying, but then I'm also scared. I'm like, my brother's dead, and whatever. And I start hearing footsteps, and I was like, oh, God, Mom's home. And it turns out it's my brother.
Ready to beat you silly?
Yeah, he woke up, didn't know exactly what had happened because, he was just passed out for however long. And part of the reason neither of us told the story until we were later on is because he decided that the vacuum next to me in that closet was the useful tool to beat the crap out of me with. So we ended up breaking Mom's vacuum. Don't tell her anything about it. And here we are. Shit, we never told our moms until we were about 27, and I think he was 32 or 33. So, yeah, good story. I promise I'm not a mass murderer or some kind of crazy person. Just was a little upset I didn't get to play, and here we are. So.
I don't know. Stuff like that makes me laugh because it's like you had no idea about the anatomy of that. I didn't realize I could actually hurt it bad.
Yeah, right.
There's no part of your brain that's just like, this could do something bad until they go limp, and then you're just like, I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah. I had never felt so bad in my life, and so
Pure unadulterated panic.
I most definitely deserved the beating I got, and I definitely deserved, keeping my mouth closed as to why the vacuum was broken. It was broken on me. So, but anyways, yeah, there's some funny stories from way back when, but yeah, let's you want to transition? You got more cool stories? So let's transition into some business stuff. So obviously we want to make some confessions, and we're calling this, obviously the shit we would never tell our moms. The reason I wouldn't normally have told this story was just because of how far things got, I guess. Most people don't know this, and I'm sure every entrepreneur or anybody who's jumped off that proverbial cliff and tried to build their airplane on the way down, found a couple of spots where they never thought they were going to take flight. And so I remember a very vivid night, and actually I still to this day have not told my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time, she's my wife now, but she probably would not have really supported the growth of the organization had I said these things out loud. But anyways, long story short, we ran out of money. And we had some AR, some accounts receivable money coming in. And we knew that we could expect it, but there was no, you don't have any control over when somebody pays you. You can pester the crap out of them, but they still have to press the button, or they still got to deliver the check or whatever that it is. So we knew the business wasn't dead, but we were dead, at least, business-wise. And the thing, I had to make a decision, and there was a commission owed to a salesperson. And this salesperson had been kind of drawn out for about a week on this, and was becoming very frustrated by it because, they were in their own position. It was at that point, all of our salespeople were commission only. So you don't get paid, right? The commission now, as W-2 workers, there's consistent pay, there's something you can plan, so on and so forth. But anyways, he was our best salesman at the time, and so I emptied our entire savings account. I emptied the whole savings account. I sold certain things that I knew I could sell at a pawn shop as fast as possible, and I paid a commission to a salesperson so they didn't leave, and put my family into a blender of a situation because this was right near Christmas time. We had no money for presents. And so I ended up racking up incredible amounts of debt on credit cards that I shouldn't have had and stuff like that. And we ate, I don't think it was ramen noodles, but something close to ramen noodles for our Christmas, foods
Christmas
and
dinner.
stuff like that. So, I think that's a good kind of intro into the mind and into the inner workings and just the trial and error, I guess, entrepreneurs or anybody who takes a real risk in their life could come up against. I had to choose, do I want my family to be able to survive the winter and have food and presents on Christmas, or do I want my team to continue working here, so on and so forth. So, yeah, that was a good story.
I could see the lack of appreciation there.
Yeah.
If that was, speaking from the point of view of a significant other, of like, wait, you what?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean,
Well, you do
your gamble paid off.
It paid off. Here we are, close to 7 years later, and we've luckily been able to push things into the right places where we haven't been put in that position. We've been in some pretty rocky positions before, but it's been a while since that was the case. But you make those adjustments and those transitions into consistent pay from somewhere else to I am now gambling on myself. I'm betting on myself. Sometimes you got to make some pretty wild decisions. And well, I'm here to tell you today, I guess it is worth it, but it's not for the faint of heart. I can tell you that for certain. If any of the people in my inner circle knew exactly where we were outside of myself, we would not be here. The guidance would be different, or would have taken me to a different place. So there's a reason I kept my mouth shut and didn't tell my mom or my wife or anybody. So,
Of course.
yeah.
I want to talk about one of the flip side of this of like a blunder, and that's having bad mentors in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I had. So I've talked about it briefly. I went to school to be an audio engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I applied to be an intern at a studio. It was my number 2 pick. Zach Brown's studio, Southern Grounds was my first pick.
Mm-hmm.
But my second pick was this other studio, and I had failed a little bit on my research, not realizing that they were primarily a post-production, so like sound for TV and movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the interview. Important thing to remember if you're going into an internship interview is that you're a nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stress it enough of if it's something you care about and it's something you actually want to do, take the lumps.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be better for it. I didn't take the lumps because I had a bad mentor in my ear.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into the interview. I was there 2.5 hours. I talked to intern coordinator for 6 minutes total
Mm-hmm.
of the 2.5 hours I was there
Mm-hmm.
because I had to take a test and a whole bunch of stuff. Guy came in, asked me what I saw myself doing, and I said, well, I want to work in music. And he goes, that's not what we do, so this probably isn't the right place for you. Have a good day.
Mm-hmm.
After I'd been there 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, he had told me, you did incredibly well. You're one of the highest testing people we've seen in quite a while. We'd love to have you. What do you see yourself doing? And then I gave that answer. And I was pissed off when that dude, after 2.5 hours, closed his book and was like, that's not what we do here. Have a good one. And walked out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, shook my hand, stood up, and like, have a good day. And if you change your mind and feel like this is the place, then let me know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear that part because after the shutdown, you don't hear anything. So I called the people, called my mom, talked to her about it. She was just like, don't be dumb. Take the spot regardless of how you feel right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he complimented you. He just wants you to have realistic expectations if you're exclusively, walked me through it. But then I called a person I trusted, still trust, even though bad advice the one time, well, lots of times, but I just don't ask him for things like that anymore.
Yeah.
But I listened to the wrong people, because they were just like, no, how dare they, like, how dare you be disrespect, like, they disrespect you like that. It's like, I hadn't earned any point of respect at this point, outside of, like, the basic level of respect you give any other human. I wasn't deserving of more than that. I'm an untested intern, sure, in Colorado, in the, churches and stuff that I had helped, I was respected. Not that I was deserving of the level I had, but I was respected. And he gave me that same level of respect, but he was honest. And so I learned two really powerful lessons that day of make sure you have good people in your ear. And this has come up multiple times in my life. I have let people talk me out of things, talk me into things as far as mentors. But then also understanding that somebody asking a clarifying question and telling you to rethink your decision is not disrespect. A lot of guys young guys specifically, or new to this type of work, you're going to get asked clarifying questions. And people are going to push back and say, maybe this isn't the right fit. Maybe it's not, but have you thought about the question properly? Because I can say I had it. I wish I would have gone and taken that. But instead, I let the emotional part of me run it, and I walked away.
So you never called back, is what you're saying?
I emailed back and said, hey, I agree with what you said. I don't think this is the right fit. Based on the feedback I got from a mentor. Even though I had another mentor, a person I respect way more, tell me, JD, don't be dumb. And then I found out years later, the reason I even got that interview was because of a family connection. So then I felt horrible because I would have taken it regardless just because of that reason. Because it was a family connection.
Yeah.
Or church connection, I guess is a better way to say that.
Sure.
And I was just like, man, that makes me feel really crappy because I definitely answered that out of an emotional place instead of listening to. And I knew when I asked this person, the reason I asked them is I knew they'd agree with me. So I had not only I knew that he wasn't the right person to ask because I knew that he'd agree with me, but that's what I wanted to hear. And it's just like, probably listen to the dissenting voices more when you're getting guidance.
Yeah, don't look for yes men, or don't look for people who only have the answer you're looking for. Maybe get some
true perspective.
Sure, let's actually weigh a scale. I understand that. Where do you think you'd be right now if you would have taken that?
Truthfully, I think I'd be in a similar. It would have gone one of two ways. Music industry's pretty sick. If I'm being totally honest, I saw some things that I wasn't a huge fan of. From my faith point of view and things like that. The thing that broke me is working with a young female artist and in a soundproof room where the engineers were. It was gross.
Yeah.
She was 18, but the rest of us were mid-20s or early 30s. I was the closest in age, and I think I was 25. And it was gross.
Yeah.
And it's super commonplace, unfortunately, especially with young, unknown artists. When you're producing those people, you don't know who you're working with. So that could have happened again. I could have been exposed to it, and I could have walked away at that point. But this company at that time was the company where they shot I Am Second. That studio, I would have. So I think I probably would have ended up staying in
Yeah.
that industry,
Mm-hmm.
at least for a time.
Sure.
It would have been a completely different trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that all roads lead you to the place you're supposed to be.
Sure. I'm in agreement with that. But
So,
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that is a blender, but it's a good learning lesson. Something you learned in life is, be cautious where you're getting your information from, and also don't outgrow your boots. I think is another part of that. We all got to earn our stripes in this world, It's like, there's certain times where I get really irritated with like the way a client is speaking or how aggressive they're being towards team members, and I want to come down on them like I'm some form of like roofing god. And it's like I'm just one of the guys.
I'm just a guy.
I'm just one of the guys, and in comparison to the people in this world, there are people who run businesses anywhere from 100 to 1,000 times more with more volume than we do. I don't have it all put together, so I should probably make sure that I keep my mouth tuned in to the right level of where we are as we go along. So,
And we learn. I think that's the other big thing that you learn from that of like take the I wouldn't even call it criticism, but the learning lessons. That's been one of the things that I've been knocked on my ass and had to learn multiple times over of if there's a problem, you should probably at least hear the problem before you decide that there's not.
Sure.
Because you may have unintentionally created a problem. It's one of my big weaknesses. I speak earnestly, and I'm pretty to the point as far as what I'm saying, but I don't always convey the whole context. And I get myself into trouble that way.
Don't we all?
So it's one of those things of you mean one thing and they hear the other thing, and it's just like, okay, step back,
Sure.
hear what they're saying, because what's minor to us could feel like a huge deal to them. And I'm not telling you to be the customer's always right person. That mantra is bullshit. And anybody who lives by that has never worked retail, and you're a dick. Let's just be totally real. You're not always right. If you have to get loud and fight with a retail worker, you're wrong. 100% of the time. No, 100. You don't need to get loud. They're working for minimum wage. Like, you don't need to yell at them.
I've definitely seen disrespectful and
Sure.
and terrible and
Oh, yeah.
basically just incredibly incompetent people. But I also believe that see I come from the thought process around raising your voice. I feel like if you have to yell, it's because you're not intelligent enough to articulate.
See, and I was raised where you raise your voice to make your point heard.
Yeah, well, and I there's a time and a place. I agree in certain instances, like with my kids, I can articulate all I want to as professionally as I want to, but sometimes the fear of a parent, aka I'm taking the torch from God. You're supposed to fear God, and as a parent, you're supposed to rear them in that, in that form and fashion. It's like, yeah, you need to have some fear of your parents as well. So the tone will change. I'm not saying that I don't yell, but the majority of the time, I think that almost anything can be moved through more efficiently with finding common ground, articulating thoughts, and sometimes maybe just taking a breath.
Correct. Which is a thing that I respond in the like, I've got a pretty long fuse 90% of the time. Something I've developed over years of retail. And training myself to be better because I was a yeller. Yeah. I still fight it every day. Yeah. And it's one of those things.
I do an okay job with customer service. I think that has to do with one of my previous positions before I even got into the roofing industry. I was the second level escalation person. I think I've referenced that here a number of times. And what that means is storefront, the people who run the storefront, the general manager, they are unable to fix this problem. This person is so heated, or the problem is so in depth that it has to go to somebody who's a real, actual authoritative figure that can actually make a change of some sort. without following a corporate guideline in order to do so. And yeah, I mean, I've been called every name in the book for longer time periods than 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All the while, some things do help in those scenarios. Like, as cliche as it might sound, smiling through it actually changes the way that you respond. Getting yelled at, being called every name in the book, and you just smile, and it actually kind of changes the way that you're actually about to respond to it. But you have to be on purpose and focused in order to be able to actually do that. So, either way, such is life. I agree with you. Please don't be a Karen.
I get it. There's times that the employee's wrong.
What's the male version of Karen? It's like Clark? He was like, I don't know.
My brain wants to say Kevin.
Kevin. Oh, man. Yeah. That's my dad's name.
Richard.
Richard.
Definitely Richard.
That guy's a real Richard. He's a dick. All right.
There was a thought there. You'd heard it starting to form, and then
I think we both had a thought, and our thoughts collided. But I was going to see if we could spin down, so look through some of this prompt. So Lachlan put together a good prompt for us. So some of this was organic, some of this is scripted. But there's I think you introduced like a really good like learning lesson story, which is like, it was a blunder because I was taking the wrong advice. I was seeking, like, I think the first thing that came to my mind when you were talking about like only asking questions to people who are going to condone your actions. My grandma used to say, you're never going to fly like an eagle if you walk around with shitbirds all day long.
I like that.
And something to that effect. She might have said it differently, but you get the get the gist of it. But that's the truth. It's like you have to be challenged in life, and you have to have sounding boards of people of either higher intelligence or higher experience levels than you, in order to really be able to. You were 24, 25, 23. In order for a 23-year-old who's you're taking life by the horns and you're out there trying to do this thing, you sometimes are a little bit blinded by what it is that you've achieved to this point. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't know exactly what level that you're on, and sometimes you need that, reverberation of words that are saying like, I believe all of those things, but you still have to show everybody else that, right? So. And
you have to be willing to hear it.
Yeah. Constructive criticism, or just criticism in general, is actually very valuable. So listen and digest, But anyways, this one, the prompt says, tell a time where you either nearly walked away from the business. I can go through a couple of those because that's happened a number of times. Or the dumbest deal you almost said yes to. I think that's another one. So pride probably would not exist had I not had a little bit of more of a level head than my ex-business partner did when this opportunity presented itself. So I've mentioned a number of times on this podcast, and in that little like why pride or who is pride video that we did a couple days ago, I mentioned that I feel like we created this business out of necessity. And really it was necessity for me more than it was like the industry needed us or something like that. It's like, which I do believe the industry needs more honest people. I think that if we all banded together and kind of drove a better thing, it would change the industry altogether, and it'd make the experience for homeowners more consistently better and stuff like that. But that's a soapbox for a different day. What I meant by saying it was like by necessity was I couldn't work for the people that I had worked for previously. Like I had hit a stopping point with each of the individual people that I've worked with, because I realized our moral compasses were not pointing the same direction, right? Finding out what they were doing in the background, just how much manipulation they were doing with insurance companies versus what they were doing to pull the wool over the eyes of the clients that I had earned the trust of, and so on and so forth. So find out, move on, and by necessity I needed to move. But one of them came chirping back into me and the ex-partner's ear a couple years later. I think it was 3.5 years later. He had witnessed things from a distance, and also, there's as big as the industry is, it's also very small. People know things about each other. People know how far you've gone. They know more about your volume than you know about your volume. Like, they understand your market share because they're either envious or irritated or whatever those things are. So people study you, right? Mm-hmm. But that had, moved on a little bit, or not moved on, but that had become a factor where one of our old bosses came back into the picture and he proposed a idea, a business venture, where it didn't change anything about Pride, but it was going to change how we acquired very large business. So I didn't know the nitty-gritty, which made it much better for me after I said, no, we're not doing this. But I found out more later on down the road about how these jobs are acquired, which was basically like they were stolen from the person he was working for at that point in time. So, I should have known, having known the person, I guess. But essentially, he had proposed this idea where he had just a stream of work that was coming to him, so much so that they were overloaded in their organization and could not actually meet the volume requirements. They couldn't execute all these jobs. But there was a catch to every one of the jobs that he was willing to siphon over, right? And the catch was none of them were approved in total by the insurance company. There was something wrong with every one of these. They had the magnitude to be anywhere from $500,000 to $5 million jobs, every single one of them, and they were in bountiful, lots of them, right? But the ultimate thing that we would have to agree to was, without getting any form of approval prior to, meaning clarity that the insurance is actually going to pay for all this work, we had to perform this work and essentially force the insurance company to pay our bills towards the work that was already performed.
That's icky.
Right. And every person that's ever been in this industry, they understand just how much of a red flag that is, that statement in and of itself. Because the problem with the industry, and I've said this a number of times, is like the old adage is, he who has all the gold makes all the rules. Right? And the insurance company has all the gold. Mm-hmm. Billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of that gold, right? And they can make the rules. They can make your life very hard, and they can absolutely put their foot down and say no if they want to, right? And the only way you can fight them is in a courtroom, and they have a lot more money for better lawyers than you do as well, right? So you better be willing to pay that penalty for that fight, right? And so, yeah, long story short, the ex-partner was 100% bought in because he was sold. He was 100% sold by this person. He was an incredible salesperson. Very clear reason why he's been so successful in the industry outside of, cutting corners and being kind of a piece of garbage. But either way, he was fully sold. He's like, we're doing this. I'm setting up everything. Here's what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. And I had to essentially throw out probably the 6th ultimatum, I guess, to that point, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. And I said, if you even sign one thing with that person's name on it, I'm gone, and you're going to have to figure this out on your own. And luckily, the ex-business partner knew just how detrimental that would be, considering that not only did I run half the business, but I also sold more than 60% of our business at that point personally, and it would have completely just imploded on itself. So luckily I knew what leverage was, and I used it. But I can't say that I wasn't fully interested in just skipping all of these steps to getting into those big worlds of big people.
Sure.
So
there's a little part of your brain that's like, sounds like a pretty sweet shortcut. But then I think about the money side of it, of like, what happens if I do all this work and then never get paid on it?
That's exactly my thought, right? Because in one sense, maybe, you're jumping light years into the future in terms of what you're able to do volume-wise, and then what that profit capture will do for your growth internally, and so on and so forth. But you do all this work and then don't pay your own bills. Well, let's just say that you've got, really loud iron bars in front of your eyes in your future.
Sounds not great.
Yeah. So that's not actually the first time, and I think we brought this up on other podcasts. But what's interesting is that your body just knows, deep. There's a lot of science around this, where it's like the connection between your gut and your brain. There's actually an incredible amount of neural synapses, actual nerve endings and impulse that's coming from your gut that's speaking to your brain at all times. So everybody eat your probiotics and make sure your gut is healthy or whatever, right? So you can listen to the third eye, your level of consciousness. But either way, like, you just know. You're like, this is too good to be true. And if you can say that out loud and you don't question that, just go with it. Understand that. In business, there are things that are going to be presented in front of you that look like they have this beautiful bow tie on it. Inside this wrapping paper is bricks of gold. It's all bullshit. The only way to be successful in business is through hard work and consistency. That's it.
Yeah, it's... I've 100% had the feeling of, like, this is not good.
Mm-hmm.
I need to, like... You hear things of, like, oh, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and you're just like... No, you're not.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I can't say, like, I could say from the other side where I should have said no to these things and didn't, right? The expensive things that we've learned over time, like being sold incredibly large marketing contracts for people who would guarantee X, Y, and Z. And then you read the fine lettering when you realize you've made it far enough and there's nothing showing for all this money that you've put into this. And in the fine print it says, there is no guarantee. You're $100,000 in on something that did absolutely nothing for your business. You know how hard it is to make $100,000 in profit?
It's
It's
so gross to think about.
In the roofing industry, construction trades in general, there's a lot of money in it, but there's not always a lot of profit in it, right? You're paying for an incredible amount of insurance, incredible amount of fuel and maintenance. You're paying for incredible, very costly materials. Labor is incredible,
insurance,
right? And the states don't make it any easier for you because it's like, okay, minimum wage today was this number, but tomorrow it's this number, and get ready because in the future it's going to be this number. It's like everything just accelerates, and so it's like, yeah, it takes you a long time to get to that number, right? You make a poor decision because somebody oversold you. Well, I sure hope that you have a mind for logistics or puzzling or putting pieces together, because you're gonna have to turn a turd into a gold bar here pretty soon. And
we have a Midas for that.
Yeah, the Midas touch. Yeah.
I have seen him turn some turds for us.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it's Johnny Bones' birthday today. I know
it is.
It's his birthday, so this is going to come out way after his birthday. But we love you, Johnny Beans, Johnny Bones, J.O., the Money Man, Mr. Beans, whatever you want to call him. He's made
Mr. Beans.
He's made a lot of very strategic choices to help us make sure we've avoided the ultimate demise of a business. The purpose of running a business is to continue running the business, right? Like everybody, success is a byproduct in the midst of that. The longer you can keep it open, the better you are at playing the game, So, thanks, John. Happy
puzzle
birthday,
master
big dog.
himself.
Yeah, the angry puzzler. All right, so you have any boneheaded, costly mistakes, things you should have walked away from, didn't, or vice versa? You walked away from, but shouldn't have. No, I just said that the exact same way with different words.
Sure did.
Whatever. You knew what I meant. Like, what do you got?
I have been lucky enough that I haven't had any huge ones as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one that I talked about of walked away and definitely shouldn't have was a pretty boneheaded move.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the hard part is I don't dwell on these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thing that I've had to learn is to say you have no regrets is dumb because people always have regrets.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned not to focus on the things that I regret. I regret the way that went down, but I'm happy with where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
I've had times where during COVID, I did everything you're not supposed to do when you're going through a major life event of quit my job, the whole deal, because there's a reason they tell you when you go through something traumatic not to not to make any life changes for 6 months, a year. Depends on the person. I hate that they say 6 months because some people it's a year.
It depends on the person. Some people can get past traumatic stuff in 2 weeks. Some people it might take 2 decades. So.
Some people bury it for 6 months and you think they're over it, and then it hits them like a rock.
Yeah.
6 months later.
Yeah.
So, I did those things. I walked away from, another branching path. It would have been, I would have wound up in a completely different industry, I would have been in IT, working in an IT position for a fairly large company now. If I had just been patient, but I didn't want to be patient. Instead of figuring out how to make my personality work with a new boss, I told the boss I literally said these words, to jam it in his ass. I'd rather work for Hitler, and walked out.
Cram it in the cram hole of the floor.
That's a great thing to hear from an HR person. But, at that time I was not. And
you earned your stripes. Now you know what to tell other people not to do.
Yeah.
Right.
It was just one of those things of I couldn't work with this person. There's personality conflict. And I knew that there was something being worked in the background. There was an opportunity for me to advance in a roundabout way. It was just going to take some time. But because I was being recommended in the background, and they're like, just be patient. We really want you for this role. It's just going to take time. And I wasn't making great money. Amazon offered me delivery, which is the worst job in the world. The guys that do it all day, every day, you're incredible. I have nothing but respect because I worked that job for a total of 3 months, and you could not pay me enough to go back. So I respect them.
Isn't it just driving?
Is it delivering? Yeah, it's awful.
It's just because you're driving around.
The rate, no, it's the rate, the amount of packages. People order dumb things off of Amazon, heavy stuff off of Amazon. You're the worst. I have a client who routinely, I delivered 10 bags of dog food a week to one client.
That's a lot of dogs.
And yes, it was a lot of dogs. But you can't.
So you eating this too, or?
I mean,
Gives
probably
a bit.
not based on the smell of the. I only had to go to their front gate. You couldn't get onto their property, probably for good reason. But based on the smell that particular property had, I never saw the same dog twice. I'll say that much. It was quite pungent.
Yeah.
Out in the country.
I've been on a client or two's house they must be harboring something crazy inside because the house itself stinks.
This property stunk. You get out in front of their gate, and it was just like, dude, how many animals do you not just dogs, like how many animals live here, including the people?
You dirty animal. Yeah, no, there was one house where I remember taking a trainee out to. It was a call-in appointment. I won't even say what town it was in because I don't want to make anybody feel bad. But yeah, dude, we literally are like looking at each other as we're going up because we both smell basically just nothing but dog piss and shit. That's all you can smell. And we're like, okay, let's move on. We get up on top of this house, but on the top of the house there are vents to the inside of the house, and he's in his first day. Like legitimately his first day. It's his first appointment, and we're up there, and I just like, you're like nauseous and about to faint by the way that this house smells.
Because it was letting so much smell out of the roof vents.
Oh. Yeah, and you didn't just get the piss smell up there. You were getting like, I don't know, mold, mildewy hoarded stuff inside. Whatever. Like, it was like you were driving past a water treatment plant, but you weren't driving past anything. You were just on this roof.
You were just standing on top. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, needless to say, sorry to this person, but I did not try very hard to sell them a roof.
I mean, that's another part. We've talked about it in other podcasts, knowing what jobs to walk away from.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel right putting my team here for a day to build this. It's unsanitary, even just to breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are times you have to make calls like that with clients of like, I love you guys, but I can't work with you. Like, you can be the nicest people ever, but I can't work with you.
Yeah. Well,
I know that we have a lot more like we could talk about individual jobs that were blunders that we should have walked away from and things like that, but we've done that. We've hashed that out. I know that this one's going to feel a little bit different. We intentionally walked away because if you've been a part of the news cycle, regardless of where you stand on anything, you've seen what happened with Charlie Kirk and how negative the media has been, or positive, depending on where you stand. We just kind of wanted to maybe bring a little levity into our little portion of the world.
Sure.
Something a little bit lighter, not as in depth.
Yeah.
We've had a little bit of fun today.
Yeah, we didn't want to put together a whole, let's dive into, all the intricacies of an operation and stuff like that. We just wanted to have a little bit of fun. Hopefully some of these stories got you chuckling at least a little bit. I would encourage that for everybody. We were talking before this podcast about things that legitimately will increase your lifespan. I mean, unless there's accidents or whatever, but laughing is one of the best medicines that you can get. And please don't try to cite me on this one, because I do not have the literature in front of me, but there's real legitimate literature that has to do with what physiological responses, or it's actually a lot of autoimmune responses that come from like deep guttural, I think is the word that they use, like deep, like that belly laugh that you get, like an uncontrollable belly laugh that makes you like exhausted after you're done laughing. If you can get that in your life more, about once a week, your lifespan can increase by up to 20%, which is crazy to think about. Like 20% on top of 80 years. I mean, that's a pretty good deal to me. Let's start laughing a little bit more. Also, encourage the population to do some internal investigation. Get right with your who you believe in, and start to think more spiritually and start to understand the evils of the world, but from a perspective of how can I bring light into it. And also, exercise. Let's not forget about self-care. Self-care is really important in a time like this. So I know there was a lot of weight in our office. There was a lot of weight in my personal life. I might make a little segment video that's kind of like my letter to Charlie, because he was very influential for me. And I think for the entire world, whether you liked him or you didn't, he was a change maker, and that's something that should be looked up to and idolized in some ways. But either way, I think it's important that we bring levity and light, and start to understand that not everything is a right and left conversation. Not everything needs to be drawn into a radicalized thing. We should probably realize that, we go in here and we talk about business constantly because we care about it, because we're interested in it. We want to help other people on whatever path that they're on. But there's more to life than business, right? Why do you do business? You do business so that you can create a life outside of here, so that you can have fun with your family, so that you can have time with your family. So maybe take a time out like we have on this episode, and spend some time with the people you care about. Tell them you love them. Life is obviously much shorter than we thought that it is. Obviously in this situation, much shorter than traditional. And we realize that he's not the only person that's been affected in this way. There are soldiers and there are people who've lost their lives unnecessarily all over the place, but this one hit very differently because of what he stood for. And I think that we need to understand that, I think that we understand that as a human race, we can do better than what we just saw. And I think that starts first with internal investigation, caring about your health, caring about your family, and then realizing what you want to do with yourself, and maintain a firm path and a firm resolve towards where your moral compass is driving you. I
think the most powerful thing I've seen throughout this week, and it was a reminder guy I respect on Instagram. I wish I could remember his handle, but he said, pray for Charlie's family and pray for the shooter.
Mm-hmm.
We have to remember that there are people on both sides,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both humans, and the loss of a father is a hard thing to live with for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And a young man being lost enough that violence felt like the correct answer.
Yeah.
He deserves our prayers too. And
there's incredible power behind words. Be cautious about which ones you put inside you, right? I learned that from a young age because of my my affinity for Indiana Jones. We talked about Indiana Jones 1,000 times, but it's the pen is mightier than the sword, right? What he's talking about is words are more powerful than any weapon. I mean, outside of maybe that nuclear warhead and stuff like that. But it probably has to be signed off on before somebody launches, so the pen, or whatever. But yeah, the pen is mightier than the sword. Words are very powerful. You can start a war. You could end a war. You could start a fight. You could end a fight. You could breathe life into somebody or breed death inside of somebody. And I think that's what happened here. And I think that we need to take a second approach to every multimedia outlet that there is in the world, and realize that we do have influence in the connectedness of the world that there is right now. People are getting more information than they ever have in human history. At the click of a button, you can have the answer to something that could have taken you 3 weeks to find in traditional methods. And because we have that time back, we're now becoming inundated by content and things distracting us. So just make sure that we're putting the right stuff in, right? And you're right. You should pray for the shooter and for the shooter's family. This is fully avoidable. All of this was fully avoidable by understanding that we're all people, right? We're all of the same human race. We're all here to survive. We're all here to create our own lives. And honestly, what it seems to be is that those words drove people to the lengths on this spectrum of radicalization, and now here we are trying to justify it. I mean, I'm not trying to justify it. I don't think anything that happened there was acceptable, and I don't want to be culpable to that in any way, but I do think you need to pray for that, or whatever that you do, whether it's meditation or journaling and so on and so forth. But I think that we all need to do some internal investigation, bring laughter and light back into our lives, and maybe start working together.
I agree completely.
So, all right.
Kind of a down way to end, but the proper way, I feel. So.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So let's close this one up. I hope that some of you guys found a little bit of joy in some of the stories. I hope you found a little bit of learning lessons from the mistakes that we've made and stuff like that. And I do really encourage everybody to do a little bit of time focusing on self and knowing what you want to do with yourselves and how you're going to be the light in the world. And let's come back to this next week, and we're going to have a whole nother topic for you. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, shoot us some messages in DMs or in the comments down below. You can call us 720-552-3321. We're pretty normal dudes, and we like to have discussions with normal people who are just out there trying to live their life and be the best that they can be every day. So give us a shout, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
See you guys.
Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Into the Lion's Den. We appreciate your time, and we hope that you've gathered enough ammunition to go out, fight the good fight, and become a better person every single day. Please like and subscribe, engage in our content, ask us some questions. We'd love to tailor fit the next episode to you.